Okay, so define eternity as it pertains to dial into before Adam and Eve.
God, again, God lives. And I'm trying to use words that fit God because the ones that humans have conceived are not powerful enough. Because
How can we comprehend something that's completely beyond our grasp?
he says how his ways are so far above our ways as the stars are above the heavens. And, eternity is a human word that we came up with to describe timelessness.
Right.
And God exists in time and outside. He dwells outside of time. It don't affect him. He created it, and it's his to do with what he wants.
A lot of people will say, well, no, man created time. How could God create time for us?
Man only created the adjective that describes it. First John, the book of John, the first chapter, deals with God, Jesus, God the Son. Without him was not anything made that was made. So he made all things. And let me just stick a pin right there. We must always know that God is omnipotent. He's omnipresent, omniscient. He's all powerful.
Omnipotent, all powerful.
All powerful.
Omniscient,
all knowing.
Omnipresent, everywhere, all at once.
Matter of fact, inside of time and outside of time.
Exactly.
So,
right.
You got to remember that. We keep humanizing God and making him into this little genie. And we rub it and he pops out. God is, we may be dwelling in God's shirt pocket or something. You know what I mean? And so,
exactly.
We might be a thought or an afterthought, But he's seeing we're important enough for him to visit. So, but he exists in time and outside of time. Eternity is just a word that we use to describe timelessness. And it is theorized that God took a piece of eternity and peeled it off like a piece of orange peel and placed it around the earth and called it time. Hence is where we get the term time is winding up. To better put it, time is winding back into eternity. There are scriptures in the Bible that even reference that. There will come a time when there will be time no more. And what they mean is that time is winding up. And I mean, that's where we get those theories from. They've been around. If you do the proper research.
Well, to wind up, as in it's increasing?
It's winding back.
To?
It's winding back to eternity from where he took it.
Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, is these things that are going to come out that
right.
seem to be so hard to comprehend.
They're really not. They're really not. We do just like the children of Israel did in the wilderness. They took a small, I think, if I'm not mistaken, a 6-day journey and turned it into a 40-year journey. And I mean, that's what we do in religion and other things. God is complex and yet simple.
Right.
And the Bible don't contradict itself.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be answering people's questions. Do you have that list?
Yeah, I do.
I have a copy of it.
It's a big list.
Let's start. We're going to start with one because we got a list from one of the many non-believers that have crossed my path, which I'm not judging anyone here, persecuting anyone. But we want to start with a list like this because it's obvious that people do have questions, and the list is basically biblical contradictions, of which we don't think there's biblical contradictions, there's explanations. So we want to address each one as we go, item by item, and talk about it and why it's not a contradiction. The question that came to the fore is, if the Bible was divinely inspired, then why would it have so many really obvious contradictions?
It's really...
Start with number one.
Yeah, number one says God is satisfied with his works, and that's found in Genesis 3:1. Then it says God is dissatisfied with his works, and that's Genesis 6:6.
This seems really obvious to me, but I want to hear from you.
Well, number one, the question is loaded. The people that ask these questions, they base their questions on their train of thought,
Which means?
which means that they're not really looking at it spiritually. These people are looking for a problem. In other words, number one, they've taken God and made him what they want him to be. Again, I made this statement earlier, and we must always remember, God is God. God made the universe, space, nebulas. He made black holes, stars, novas, comets. He put an ozone layer around our planet. He made 4 seasons. He made it to where we could live. He did all of these things and had enough power come from him, and yet we try to limit him to what he can and can't do, or what dissatisfaction and satisfaction is to him. We're trying to make him out to be perfect in our mind, instead of, first of all, recognizing him for being God.
Which, that's a good context here if we're really trying to impress upon people when we're talking about this.
Right.
To remind them that God is omniscient, omnipresent,
Right.
and omnipotent.
Right.
And what that means is that there's no way that we can fathom God in any way.
Right. So if God all of a sudden decides that he wants to put a parallel earth right next to our earth and spin it and put people on it that look just like us, who are we to say you can't do that? It's not possible when he did it already.